The markets are higher today as investors put aside some of these geopolitical tensions and concerns as having little risk to what's been the driving force of this market rally, which remains AI. Crude prices are also rising now due to the uncertainty and potential disruption to Venezuela's oil supply. Let's discuss all of it with Energy Aspects' Aspects Sen and Morgan Stanley Private Wealth Management's Katerina Simonetti. Welcome to both of you. Amrita, I'm actually going to start with you, if I may, in this kind of afternoon development where crude is now moving to the upside. What do you make of that?
Yeah,
well,
look,
Kelly, thank you for
kind of flagging this to our clients over the last few days, really. That initially, I think a lot of the traders were very skeptical. They've been asking us about how much more oil could come to the market because you could unleash so much of Venezuelan oil. But we have been flagging that the U.S. blockade remains in place, sanctions remain in place. Venezuelan exports had already halved, and there's more downside risk in the near term. So in the near term, there isn't additional oil in the market. And the market was also extremely short. Our quant team have been flagging that the amount of shorts in Brent are at a record high in 10 years. The amount of longs in WTI are also at a record low. So because the market was so short, so I think that's why you're seeing the kind of rally. I don't think the rally is going to persist much because there is oversupply or fears of oversupply in the market. But the right here, right now, the initial fears that there's going to be a lot of oil from Venezuela, I think that's dissipated.
So there were so many narratives initially, Amrita, everything from, pity the Canadian oil producers to, this is going to be an era of even more abundant and plentiful oil that the U.S. controls. So what do we do with all of those narratives now? Are they simply delayed, or do you think they're called into question here?
No, look, we've been saying right from the start that going into Venezuela and redeveloping it is going to be extremely challenging. Our analysis shows just to increase production by 500,000 barrels per day would take at least 2 years and $10 billion. Anything where you talk about going back to the heydays of Venezuelan production of 2.5 million barrels per day, you're talking about $100 billion, if not higher, and anywhere up to 7 to 10 years, right? So nothing of this is simple. Oil companies do not want to go back in, and we've kind of, previously you were talking about that as well. There's enormous amounts of PDVSA debt. People need to understand how that debt is going to get repaid. The companies don't even know if new contracts are going to be upheld by a new Venezuelan government. Gas processing is a huge concern. Without gas processing, you can't even increase oil production. The damage done to Venezuelan upstream and infrastructure is so huge. I cannot stress that enough. So this is not an overnight success story by any stretch. By the way, we don't even have any guarantees that there will be any change whatsoever, right? So I think people were just premature in some of that exuberance.
Sure. Amrita, what do you make of this narrative, which is now being called into question, around how many reserves Venezuela actually has? There's people who say it was self-declared that this was the previous regimes, Chavez and so forth, just basically trying to boast about what they had, and there was no international authority that could come in and actually verify those reserves. What do you think we know about the reserves of Venezuela that actually exist or not?
I think reserves is always a tricky one because for lots of countries, right, they claim very, very big reserves numbers, which sometimes can't be tested internationally. I think Venezuela is definitely a case in point. The reality is that their production, which is what matters for the market, has been about 1 million barrels per day last year at its peak, has gone down a couple of 100,000 barrels per day. Exports have now gone down below 500,000 barrels per day, and that is what is important. Can Venezuela actually produce 2, 3, 4 million barrels per day over a 10, 20-year period? Yes, maybe. They do have the reserves. It may not be 300 billion barrels, but They do have ample reserves. The question is the infrastructure and the amount of money that's going to be required, which is just not going to be forthcoming.